Welcome to Talk Across America. I'm Doug Miles, and we're here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. And joining us now on our book talk segment, great to welcome, man has written a book that got a lot of great press and reviews when it came out last year in hardcover, now out in paperback. Great historical book. It's called Friends Divided, about John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and of course it won the Pulitzer Prize. You can't get any better than that. We're joined today by the author, Gordon S. Wood, on the telephone today. And Gordon, good to talk with you. How are you?
Fine. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, good to talk with you. And first of all, congratulations on winning a Pulitzer Prize. How do you get notified when you win a Pulitzer?
That was for an earlier book in 1993, not for this book.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe this one won as well. But either way, I mean, congratulations on winning one. How do they let you know when you win something like that? Do you get a telegram?
Well, you get a telephone call from the press usually because they find out of it.
That's great. Yeah.
Earlier.
I mean,
Yep.
You hear that term Pulitzer Prize, but I don't think many people know how you actually get it. So somebody calls you, and then is it like a medal?
Well, no, it's actually a monetary prize, but a medal as well.
Oh, great. Okay, I knew there was a money involved, but I don't know if you got like a medal as well. Anyway, that's great. But congratulations either way. But let's talk about the book.
Thank you.
Again, it was out in hardcover, now out in paperback. And boy, when you tackle a subject like this, because it's American history, and two of the greatest men in American history, how do you start something like that?
Well, these two guys were great patriots. They came together in 1775, 76 to create the nation, if you will, and then they remained friends for a decade or so. Went abroad in the 1880s, and where their friendship was enriched because Jefferson was a widower at that point,
right.
And he became a member of the Adams family. They both were over in missions in France. And then, of course, in the 1790s, their differences, which were great, began to emerge over the French Revolution and over politics. Adams was a Federalist and vice president under Washington. Jefferson became the leader of the Republican Party. He and Madison, his friend, created the Republican Party. And so the two former friends and patriots were deeply divided, and the election of 1800 pitted them against one another for the presidency, the most scurrilous election, I think, in our history. And Adams is humiliated by losing to Jefferson. He refuses to attend Jefferson's inauguration, gets on a 4 a.m. stage and heads back to Quincy, and he doesn't speak to Jefferson again for a dozen years. They're brought back together, however, reconciled by the efforts of a mutual friend, Dr. Benjamin Rush, who works at it for 2 years, and then the two men exchange letters over the next 14 years of their lives, dying on the same day, not an ordinary day. It was July 4th, right. 1826, exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence of 1776. So it was such a coincidence that the nation said it had to be providential, and I think it's linked these two men forever in our national consciousness. Their death, that coincidence of dying on the same day.
Yeah, and again, you look back at that 1800 election, like you mentioned. It's kind of interesting to think how were elections done back then, because obviously there's no electricity and no way of communicating. Right. I think it's newspapers. Maybe that's about it. But how did they do it back then? It's town to town, right?
That said, everything was slower, and of course the two men themselves never campaigned. They stayed in their homes, Jefferson in Monticello and Adams in Quincy. But their followers said very vicious things about one another. And as I say, it's very scurrilous. I mean, the kinds of, worry about fake news today was nothing like what went on back in 1798, 99, and 1800. So we lose a sense of perspective when we don't realize just how bad things could be in the past. At any rate, they were able to put their passions aside after a dozen years and become friends again, and it was important for both of them to become reconciled because they differed so much. One represented the idealism of the revolution, that's Jefferson, and the other represented the realism of America. He doubts American exceptionalism, Adams. He doubts the notion that we're all created equal. He takes on all of the American myths. He's very fearful of power. He's the one who is most responsible for separation of powers and for limits on constitutional government, the constitutional limits on government. So they complement one another, and I think it's fortunate that they sort of were both sides of the revolution, the realist and the idealist side of the revolution. They stood for both sides.
Okay, kind of interesting. Adams, working with Washington, you would think he would have been more like Jefferson, right? I mean, more they went through the war and all that to become a country, but he had a little bit different views than even Washington, right? Adams?
Oh, yes. Washington tended to side with Alexander Hamilton, who had notions of creating the United States in a European image, a fiscal military state with a strong standing army and so on. Adams wanted no part of that. And so he was not a Hamiltonian Federalist, but he was a Federalist. He believed in hierarchy, he believed in inequality, and that the best should rule. but he was not a Democrat either, not a Jeffersonian Democrat, certainly.
You mentioned the letter writing between the two men, and the letters back then, obviously, the distance, even though by today's standards is nothing, but it probably took, a week or two before letters could get back and forth?
Oh, at least, maybe closer to 2 weeks for a letter to go from Boston to Virginia. Horseback is the fastest move. Or else ocean, it could go on ship, too. That was probably faster even than overland. But it would take a week or two to carry a letter from one state to the other.
And they were kept, obviously. So many of them were kept, right? So that we could read them today.
Well, they kept the letter. They knew that they were historically important. So this correspondence, they're writing for us as well as for themselves. They're writing to posterity. They're aware that they're going to be famous people. If the United States survives and becomes a great nation, they know they're going to be notables in that story. They were aware of that. They were aware of their future fame. Although Adams always knew that he would be second to Jefferson, he would never be as important as Jefferson. At one point, he asked Jefferson, how many letters did you get last year? And this is 1820, and Jefferson said, well, I got around 1,200 or so. And Adams is shocked because he only received 120. So Jefferson is a celebrity, an international superstar, writing to the Tsar of Russia, to other great notable figures around the Western world. Adams is not in that league. He's not in that celebrity league, and he's still not. He knows that, and he's aware of it. He's jealous of Jefferson, but he understands he is not going to be as famous as Jefferson.
It's interesting when you think fame by today's standards, totally different, but these guys knew they were well known then, even though there was no media.
Well, that's right. Well, they were creators of a nation. That's always something.
Right.
You know you're going to be famous if you created a new government. And they had dreams of the United States becoming a great government and a great nation. Jefferson more confident than Adams, at least at first.
Yeah. When doing the research for the book, and again, I know your history, I should have said it before, professor of history emeritus at Brown University, did you learn things that even surprised you when you took this project
Yes,
on?
I did. I hadn't realized how pessimistic and realistic, if you will, cynical that Adams was, and how strongly he felt about the inequality of people at birth. He really takes on the enlightened conventional wisdom that all men are created equal. And he says, no, we're created unequal, and we remain unequal right through our whole lives, and right from birth. So he's a nature person, not nurture.
Wow.
And Jefferson's the exact opposite. And Jefferson stands for, I think, the American view. We have a lot of confidence in education. We don't believe that people have to remain unequal through their whole lives, that there are ways of doing something, compensating for the for different environments, and we need education to do that. And Adams had doubts about that. He says education is fine, but it will never overcome the basic inequalities that are there from birth. So there's a major difference between the two men.
Yeah, great topic for a book, obviously, and you really delve into it. Again, called Friends Divided. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson is the title of the book. We've been talking with Gordon S. Wood today. And Gordon, give out a website. People get more information about the book.
Well, they can. I don't have a website, unfortunately, but I think if you Google my name, there's a lot of information available about my contributions to American history.
And published by Random House. So we'll also have a link on our website. But Gordon, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. And you working on another project now?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the coming of the Civil War.
Great. We'll hopefully talk to you at that time. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Talk Across America. Please visit our website at dougmilesmedia.com for more great interviews and content. And if you're interested in any of the books we talk about on the program, please click the Amazon link on our website. It helps support the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again real soon here from beautiful Sarasota, Florida.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.